thick with the sense of spices and fresh herbs. Salads are being tossed together and the coals are cooking up some of the best meat you'll eat on earth. Welcome to the sensational fresh world of Syrian food. Join our food safari to learn how to cook frike, the delicious ancient Arabic grain, the secrets of the freshest, crunchiest fattoush, how the oregano-coated cheese called shanklish is made, the national dish kibbeh served 3 ways, and a guide to Syrian pastry, including a recipe for beautiful baklava.
Our cuisine in Syria is absolutely fantastic. You can buy lamb, you can buy chicken, you can buy vegetarian food, you can buy chickpea on the street, you can buy sweets, baklava, cakes, and it just got something welcoming about it. It's really nice food, wholesome, earthy food, and I love cooking it and I enjoy eating it, and so does my family and my friends.
Amal Malouf was born in Syria and grew up surrounded by a food culture refined over hundreds of years. Her early memories are of her family in Damascus making pomegranate and grape molasses and grinding their own sumac. Her family moved to Australia when she was in her teens, and her passion for food led her to open her own restaurant, Arabesque, in Melbourne.
One of the most basic ingredient that every household will carry, and you'll find it sitting on the breakfast table with olive oil and za'atar. Za'atar is a mixture of thyme, sesame seed finely roasted, and sumac, olive oil. You just mix it.
So that's the aroma that immediately puts you back in Syria.
Absolutely.
What's here?
What we've got here is burghul. Again, that's another major ingredient in our cooking. Most Australian knows burghul as a cracked wheat, and it's the base ingredient for tabbouleh. And then you've got this fine grind, and you've got the coarser one that's in the white.
So the white has the husk off?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and this one is the wholemeal. I personally prefer to use that. It sort of retain its texture. It doesn't go too soft. Tahina, again, it's another major ingredient. It's a sesame seed paste, and it's used in a lot of the dips, the hummus, the baba ghanoush.
And what do you look for when you're buying it?
The consistency, and it's always going to be of a lighter color. That's quite a good color, and it's always the oil floating on the top, but always make sure before use to mix it properly. One of the major spice that we use is really the mixed spices, because it just goes in everything, just about. You've got a mixture of cinnamon, pimento, a bit of nutmeg, a bit of cloves, a bit of black pepper, and my favorite spice, it has to be cumin.
Same.
I just love it. Okay. This is amaruddin. This is something we've always loved as children. So it's made out of apricot. It's an old version of roll-ups that what you see now on
the original roll-up.
Supermarket shelves.
Wow.
So basically it's apricot that's pureed and cooked with sugar and turned into a paste.
And do you just eat it like this?
Yeah, just eat it like that.
Wow.
Whoa, there you go. Have some. It's really fantastic.
I'll give you the diet size piece.
Thank you.
The concept of hospitality in Syria is so strong that every family is ready to cater for an army at a moment's notice. And the first thing laid before people is a full meze spread.
It's just about food and gathering people, and it's a real atmosphere. It's loud, it's crazy, but the food is always there. That's what brings us together.
Carol Saloom's life has been punctuated by large family gatherings with lots of food. A culture of delicious hospitality that drew her away from school teaching to open her own restaurant, the Almond Bar in Sydney's inner suburbs. She's front of house and her sister Sharon is in the kitchen, both using the lessons learned from their mother, who could prepare a feast at a moment's notice.
We'd always have 6 or 7 different dishes and we just pick from everyone and you shared it. And it's the same at our house.
A Syrian fridge is packed ready for people to drop in.
And then it's not just one fridge. There's probably 3 or 4 fridges plus 3 or 4 freezers.
Are there rules to a good mesa?
Well, there are a few dishes that appear constantly. You'll always find tabbouleh, you'll always find hummus, balghanoush, labni. You'll find the vine leaves. You'll always find olives. Pretty much they're the main ones that you'll find in a meza, yeah. We often eat tabbouleh or the smeared salad with some leaves. You know, you can use iceberg lettuce, cos lettuce. We sometimes use vine leaves, fresh vine leaves.
When you're describing kibinaya to someone, what do you say to someone that doesn't know it?
I tell them that it's raw lamb, and the word raw tends to scare people, raw meat. Doesn't even taste like meat, and there's cracked wheat. It just gives us such a lovely flavour. So you open the bread up, you fold the bread and you turn it into a scoop.
Yep, that's good.
And then the kibinaya, you can add raw onion to it.
This is lovely.
It's just, you relax and you enjoy, and it's like when you go to a person's place and they say, come and put, you know, chips and dips, sort of thing, you know. But this is the Arabic version of chips and dips.
One of the ingredients across Syria becoming increasingly popular is frike, an ancient grain prized for its high protein, vitamin and fibre content.
Not many people know about this.
Yeah.
When they harvest the wheat, when it's still green, before they sort of let it dry completely, they char grill it. So it's got a beautiful smoky flavour.
Great. And so what are you making? Same as a rice dish?
Same as a rice dish. It's really beautiful with shank.
But a lot more bite than
It's got a more
rice,
bite, more bite to it, yeah.
Ayman Abbasi grew up in Syria and remembers the aroma of frike cooking across the neighbourhood. It's one of the foods he was keen to introduce on the menu at Cafe Zamzam in Melbourne, where he's been head chef for the last 7 years.
Really unique dish. It's very famous in Syria.
And every Syrian family eats it?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ayman starts by boiling a plump chicken with cinnamon quills, bay leaves, cardamom pods, half an onion and some salt. When it's tender, he lifts the chicken out and removes some of the skin and bones.
Just big chunky parts. That's it.
That's great. In olive oil, Ayman fries diced red onion and lamb mince. Then adds the washed and drained frike.
Now I'll put the spices after that. That's the famous 7 spices, 1 teaspoon and 1 large teaspoon of sea salt. It has to be really hot when you add the chicken stock, and the stock has to be boiling as well. Put it on medium heat first until it gets boiled. After that, I will cover it. Then we'll leave it for 40 minutes.
Ayman then prepares the delicious earthy Syrian truffle.
You can only find it in Syria, in the desert.
A truffle in the desert?
A truffle in the desert, exactly. Start with the butter.
The truffle and chicken pieces are fried in butter, some cinnamon added, and some of the stock. Very nice. Wow, that looks so good. So it's still moist, it's not
Yeah, it's still
completely
moist.
dried out.
Just gonna put the nuts. Pine nuts.
Ayman, that is really standout, isn't it? Good.
Oh, yeah.
This is a special occasion thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Lucky I'm here for a special occasion.
My pleasure.
In Syria, many families bake their own bread at home. Most prized is an unleavened bread called sage, which is made with wholemeal flour. A sage is actually the iron-domed pan over which it's cooked. In Australia, the tradition continues, usually with the women of a family banding together. What we know as Lebanese bread is also popular. Like many Middle Eastern cultures, the Syrians adore their bread with every meal. The flatbread used as both cutlery and napkin, and any left over is turned into one of the country's most delicious salads. The salad is called fattoush, made and loved right across Syria.
You've got just some Arabic bread that you toast. The other unique ingredient in it is probably the butli.
Okay. We know that as purslane.
Yep.
How would you describe this? I love it.
It's almost like a thick oregano with a bit more texture to it.
Chef Sharon Saloom is so dedicated to getting the flavours as close to their original that she raids her mum's garden for herbs available only at Middle Eastern shops or home gardens.
We'll start with the dressing of the salad. So what I've got here is just 3 cloves of garlic. Salt is a very commonly loved ingredient in most Middle Eastern cooking, so you'll definitely need some of that, otherwise my mother would kill me. You've also got some paprika, just some sweet paprika is fine. This is just some sumac. So this is what actually gives more of a citrus flavour to the dressing. Put some extra virgin olive oil in there and just some freshly squeezed lemon juice.
So that'd be quite tangy.
It is quite tangy, yeah. So probably a good idea to start with the cucumber. We would probably use about 2 of these, just some tomato. So what we've done is we've just taken the butli off the stalks. A good handful of that is probably a good idea. We'll just grab some of the radish, about a handful or so. With the lettuce, again, really rough. Just cut some pieces off with your hand and mix it in. Half a red capsicum and half a green capsicum. So we're just going to grab some mint, just all around. Just a good handful of parsley. Finally, we'll just get some of the onion. And last but not least, we've just got the bread. I think this is actually the best part of the salad because it allows the dressing to be soaked up by the bread. So don't be shy with the bread. I think it's always nice to be able to feel the food you're making. So,
absolutely.
So you can see that colour of the dressing coming through.
Wow, that looks so fresh. Oh, my heavens.
The colouring is just perfect.
It smells absolutely fresh and delicious and exotic too with the herbs. Delicious. Syrian taste buds are tuned to slightly sour flavours, the tang of yoghurt and yoghurt-based cheese, which many expatriates still make at home, though more frequent dairy businesses like this one, which makes a cheese called shanklish, a yoghurt-based cheese mixed with salt and chilli powder, which is then rolled in oregano. Always by hand?
You can do in machine, but hand better. Yeah.
And your son seems even faster than you.
Younger because younger.
Ibrahim Abu Shadid started making shanklish in Australia many years ago and has seen the sales grow steadily as more Australians learn how to serve and enjoy it.
Every people, English people, Australian people, every people like this one because nice taste, very beautiful cheese.
To serve, the shanklish is crumbled and mixed with diced tomato, an onion and a little olive oil. Across the Middle East, each country has its own national dish. In Syria, it's kibbeh, ground lamb or beef mixed with burghul and prepared in many ways. But all of them are incredibly healthy and delicious. Kibbeh can be eaten raw with a spice mix, the dish often the centrepiece of a mezze spread and said to be the real test of a cook's skills. Kibbeh can also be rolled into zeppelin shapes for frying and baking, and kibbeh sinaya is baked with a layer of spiced beef and pine nuts in between.
The kibbeh sinaya, it's kibbeh on a tray, and a flat tray, and it's usually baked.
So would you say it's like a Syrian meatloaf?
Yeah,
Sort of.
fancy meatloaf.
Fancy meatloaf.
Yes.
Nejla Atmaja was brought up in Aleppo. The city is said to be Syria's culinary capital and has cooked her beautiful seasonal home-style food in her own restaurant in Melbourne for 20 years. Kibbeh sania is a huge favourite.
Okay, the best way to break down the coarse beef mince is on a low heat with a little bit of oil. So that's when you need a little bit of patience.
So it sort of virtually has to be crumbly, does it?
Yeah. So it's coming nicely. Okay, now we're going to add some spice mix.
What have you got?
Baharat, sometimes they call it 7 spice mix. And a little bit of cinnamon, that's optional. And this is coarse salt from Syria. And some freshly ground pepper.
Oh, you like the pepper?
Yeah, this dish really likes pepper. Likes pepper and onion. And the onion gives the sweetness to this dish. It is really the secret.
Is it?
Yeah. The secret. And now, in the meantime, we're going to roast some pine nuts in about a tablespoon of butter. And here we are. The filling is ready, and we'll allow it to cool.
That was easy.
Yep.
Nejla makes the kibbeh mix with fine burghul that's been soaked in water overnight and drained. She adds salt and cracked pepper and the baharat spice mix. Then finely minced onion and very lean minced lamb or beef. She sprinkles the mix with a little cold water and goes to work.
I like using my hand. By hand, you can feel the stages you're at.
Oh,
you can
exactly. You
feel
miss the fun.
whether it's done.
And the spices smell so good.
And the spices are simple and nice.
Nejla builds a layer of the meat and burghul on the base of an oil pan, pressing it down evenly.
Now, we add up the filling, which is being cooled down. Generously, but not too much.
She tops the filling with the meat and burghul mix and smooths it out. Slices it into generous serves and adds a little olive oil to keep it moist as it cooks in a moderate oven for 20 minutes. That's beautiful and moist on the inside too.
Here we are.
Oh, beautiful.
A dollop of yogurt. Well,
like a cake almost. That is the Middle East, isn't it?
It is
it's
the Middle
Syria,
East.
It's spicy. No wonder it's a national dish.
because it's so special.
It is so special. The sweets makers of Damascus are considered to be the finest in the Middle East, many of the families passing their skills down through the generations. A lot of the sweets are purely Syrian, rich in syrup and the clotted cream called ashtar.
Sweets and desserts are just a part of life. It's part of everyday life. It's almost more important than breakfast. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
You can't have it small. It's got to
Yeah.
be big. You know, the bigger the better. And it's almost rude to take something that's little to someone's house. You know, especially in the way of sweets. So it's always got to be big and beautiful. In the way of favourites, I would probably say the lady's arms. Probably one of the best delicacies in the way of sweets. We've got just a filo pastry, and in the middle there is an ashtar cream, and you know, you take ladies' arms to someone's house and you're the star of the show, so they love you for it. Damascus rose is probably one of the most
well-known, popular, almost ancient sweets that we have. So it's just a layer of phyllo pastry at the bottom, a few sheets of that. Then you've got just a really light ashtar, and then you've got another layer of phyllo pastry at the top, and people just absolutely love it. This is our garabish halab. It's almost like a biscuity type layer at the bottom with the fustot halibut or pistachio nut in the middle. And then you've got like a marshmallowy, almost cream style topping. I mean, you feel like you're going to get diabetes just by looking at it. But it's great. It's great. Look, it's absolutely gorgeous.
It looks luscious.
Yeah.
Around the Western Mediterranean, one pastry has ruled the taste buds of sweet lovers, a winning combination of phyllo, pastry, nuts and syrup called baklava.
It's a sort of the top of the range that's in dessert that you buy in Syria. There's a huge variety in Damascus that you can buy. You've got the bird's nest, you've got the burma, and there is a baklava and a sweet for every occasion, and it's absolutely amazing. So there's a bit of a time involved with just layering the pastry. You just got your ghee. If it's a bit thick, zap it in the microwave for a minute to sort of make it a little bit softer.
How many sheets of phyllo do you use?
Let's say 20 on each side, okay, so they play it safe. I remember when we first migrated to Australia in 1976, we went straight to Geelong, so you can imagine, my God, it was a culture shock living in Geelong. But I remember Mum made a lot of sweets at home because it wasn't available all the time.
Oh, so this is her recipe?
Yes. Now, I don't tend to put a lot of sugar in the actual nut mix. I just put a couple of dessert spoons, that's enough, because the sugar syrup will sweeten it enough, so you don't need more than that. And I just put a little bit of orange blossom, about maybe two spoons, and maybe just a dash of rose water.
Gosh, that smells beautiful.
It is beautiful. We just pour it on the top. It is very easy, really. The only thing that takes time is the baking, basically, and the layering. Here we go. And here we go. We start again.
That looks beautiful.
That's it. There you go. Now, the final cutting it. You really have to have a steady hand.
That's good.
So, we can go, you go straight lines. It's going to be a bit hard because you have to be careful for the top layer of the pastry not to lift. There you go.
Beautiful.
And the remaining butter you can... And basically that's it. We can go to the oven now and bake it. 175 to 180, and for about just under an hour, maybe 55 minutes.
Amal makes a sugar syrup with 2 cups of sugar, 1 cup of water and a squeeze of lemon juice.
So I'll just wait for it till it boils and that's it. It's not a really hard thing to do.
When it's boiled, she adds a few drops of rose water and orange blossom water. Then pours the hot syrup over the hot baklava. That's a great moment, Amal, isn't it?
It is. The sound of
Magic.
it. It's sort of...
How long do we have
If
to wait now?
Laura can talk, there it is. It's
There it
talking, telling you how fantastic I am.
Shall we eat this masterpiece?
Absolutely.
It looks so beautiful.
Yeah. صحة. ده صحتك. Damn, it's good.
Oh my heavens.
If I may say so, it is good.
I've had a lot of baklava in my life, but this is the goods.
Thank you.
On our next safari, the vast range of food from the United States, from the crab cakes of San Francisco to New Orleans jambalaya, plus the best ribs, pecan pie and some wicked fast food.
We deserve a bit of a treat and spoil ourselves every now and then, so why not? Especially in something you make it at home. You know it's good, you know it's clean, you know it's fresh. And why not to enjoy it?
Beautiful.
So why not
Thank
have a few calories on your hips? It's good for belly dancing.